What's up, y'all? Another Sabbath day Torah reading, Genesis 40. Then it came about after these things, the cupbearer and the baker for the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was furious with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. Now, I've been talking about the types and shadows. The chief cupbearer, when you see what happens to him, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker may represent the people who are ready, or the righteous and the unrighteous. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So he put them in confinement in the house of the captain of the bodyguard, in the jail, the same place where Joseph was imprisoned. The captain of the bodyguard put Joseph in charge of them, and he took care of them. And they were in confinement for some time. See, Joseph represents Jesus, and he's in charge of all of us. And we're in confinement right now in this world. Then the cupbearer and the baker for the king of Egypt, who were confined in the jail, both had a dream in the same night. Each man with his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. Now, they also may represent the house of Israel and the house of Judah. When Joseph came to them in the morning and observed them, behold, they were dejected. He asked Pharaoh's officials, who were with him in confinement in the master's house, "Why are your faces sad today?" Then they said to him, "We have had a dream, and there is no one to interpret it." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell it to me, please." So the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph and said to him, "In my dream, behold, there was a vine in front of me. Now Jesus is the vine. And on the vine were 3 branches. Or the vine in this may represent timeline. And as it was budding, its blossoms came out, and its clusters produced ripe grapes. Righteous, ripe grapes. Now Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, so I took the grapes and squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, who would represent God the Father possibly. And I put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. Then Joseph said to him, "This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 more days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you will put Pharaoh's cup into his hand, according to your former custom when you were his cupbearer." Now the 3 days, they each had a dream. That's why I said it may be the house of Israel and the house of Judah, because they each had a dream in the same day, and within 3 days, 3,000 years, within 3,000 years from when Jesus came, and he's going to come back, the cupbearer, which would represent the righteous, was restored and put back in its position. Only keep me in mind when it goes well with you. And please do me a kindness by mentioning me to Pharaoh and get me out of this house. For I was in fact kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews. And even here I have done nothing wrong that they should have put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that he had interpreted favorably, he said to Joseph, I also saw in my dream, and behold, there were 3 baskets of white bread on my head. Another 3. So I said 3 years. 3,000 years. And in the top basket there were some of all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh, and the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. Then Joseph answered and said, This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 more days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and will hang you from a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh off you. See, each was within 3 days. They had a dream on the same day. Possibly a type and shadow of Jesus coming. And within 3 days, some are going to be restored and be looked upon favorably, and some are going to be destroyed, just like it's going to happen when Jesus comes back. Thus it came about on the 3rd day, which would represent the beginning of the millennium, the beginning of the last 1,000 years, the 3rd day, the 3,000th year since Jesus. Thus it came about on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants. And he lifted up that he made a feast for all his servants. It's like the wedding feast of the Lamb. And he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief cupbearer to his office. And he put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. That's the end of Genesis 40. God bless you guys.